Now we'll talk about day 2 in Alba. I got up a little bit late, and one of the things I needed to do was laundry, and I packed light for this trip. One thing I did not anticipate is how hot it is. Now, don't let this sweater fool you. I'm only wearing a sweater because the air conditioning unit above me is broken. It's either on or off. And so in this barrel right now, it is probably 50 degrees. It's quite cold. That's the sweater. Outside, it is 90 degrees. It is sunny, and it is so hot here that you can't be in the sun. In the heat of the day, you have to walk under awnings or you'll fry. It's not so bad in the shade, but it's hot. This is sort of where this idea of like the town shuts down from like noon to 3. All the shops close except for maybe some of the bars and a couple restaurants, but everyone just like, they're like, it's too hot, we're not working, we're taking a break, we're taking a nap, we're having a glass of wine. It's actually really beautiful until you've put off eating lunch until 2:30 and you can't find anywhere to serve you lunch, but you find places. Anyways, I didn't anticipate doing laundry so soon, but I'm sweating through all of my clothes. Of course, the clothes from Milan, but even here, man, clothes are one-time use for me at least. And so luckily there's a laundry machine on site here, and I had paid a little bit extra to be able to have access to it. So I wake up and I'm kind of like, I'm gonna have a little morning here, and then I go and get the key for the laundry, and I go to do laundry, and they don't have laundry detergent, which makes sense in retrospect. A lot of the people that are staying here they live in Italy and they're just kind of having a weekend away. So then I set off into town to buy laundry detergent, which is actually pretty difficult. It took a while, but eventually I found it, came back, did my laundry, and then I set out for the city again. I set out with 2 main objectives. One was to do an interview with Enrico. And when I asked him, he said, yes, I would love to just come back whenever. I feel like in America, I'm expecting people to be very regimented, especially business owners. Like, this is a successful wine store. And he's like, yeah, just stop by. We'll see what's going on. Very relaxed pace of life for sure. So objective 1 is record the interview with Enrico. Objective 2 is to purchase art. When I got to the city, objective number 1 was find Donna. Now the problem is, I had pinned her shop on my Apple Maps, but the pin disappeared. So I had no idea where the shop is. So in the heat of the day, I am just walking around every single street of Alba, kind of making circles from what I remember. And I remembered I saw people painting a balcony. And so I was like, okay, if I see a balcony and people are painting it, then I know I'm close. And literally I'm walking around the town for 20 minutes. And in the distance, I see people on a ladder and I kind of hustle over. I actually have video footage that I'll put on my probably TikTok or Instagram from my Ray-Ban Meta glasses. But I see the painters and I'm like, oh boy, we're close. And I come around the corner and I see her shop. Is this it? Donna, ciao. And I walk in, I am so excited to see her. Donna, you understand, I've been looking for you for half an hour and it's 100 degrees out. I'm probably soaked through in sweat. And so I go back and she finds the 2 pieces of artwork that I was really interested in, and I buy them from her, and she's so sweet, and and we roll them up carefully, put them in the tube, put the tube in my backpack, boom. Checked off the first thing on my to-do list for day 2 in Alba. Next thing was to go back to the Enoteca and record an interview with Enrico. So I roll back in. I know where this place is because it's kind of right on the main strip. And I roll in and I go through the door and there's a different guy there, and it's Enrico's business partner. And he didn't speak as much English as Enrico did. So I'm trying to communicate to him that I'm American. I am trying to learn about wine. I'm trying to record videos to educate people about this region and kind of record my experiences here. And he is just not getting it. And he's like a little bit grumpy about it. He's like, not understanding what I'm trying to get across, which again, of course, understandable. So I just say, when can I talk to Enrico? And he says, come back in an hour. Great. So I go to one of the bars and I get coffee and a little panino sandwich. and I'm just having a nice time. Wait an hour, go back to the Enoteca, super excited. I've got my tripod on one side of my backpack. I've got Tubo on the other side, poking up like above my head. And I walk into the shop and Enrico greets me. And this man is famished. He is sweaty. And he says, "My friend, I'm so sorry. I have no time today. We're so busy." And I said, "No problem at all. I'm going to be in the region for a while. In fact, I'll be back in Alba on Saturday. Can we do it then?" And he says, "No, Saturday's more busy." Okay. So I'm feeling a little bit defeated because I only checked one thing off the to-do list, and I was probably more excited, as much as I do love art, I was probably more excited for the interview because I just wanted to share this guy's story. But it's not going to happen. I'm not going to push it. I understand. Kind of a little bit down in the dumps, a little bit, as much as you can be in Italy. I just kind of start walking, and I'm like, this is silly. Who would want to do an interview? Whatever. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Lots of whining, not a lot of wine. Anyways, and I'm kind of making a lap around a different part of the historic center than I have been in. And I walk past this wine bar, and there is a DJ out front, and he's DJing CDs of like reggae. And I'm like, that's an interesting flavor. So that piqued my interest, but I wanted to keep going to try and see if there was somewhere where there were more people, because there wasn't too many people there. It was probably only 7 o'clock, which is quite early in Europe. And so I do a full lap and I don't see anything. And so I'm like, you know what? I need a glass of wine. So go to this wine bar, sit outside, kind of right in front of the DJ, and I'm enjoying the kind of eclectic music. A lot of it was either reggae or American music. Like my server was wearing a like American band t-shirt. I can't remember what band it was, but it felt familiar. It was a little taste of home perhaps. And so I have a glass of wine and I'm journaling and just kind of, sulking a little bit, we'll say. And I'm going to get up and pay. And I notice like more people are kind of forming and everyone is drinking a beer out of a specific glass. This glass. And so when I go to pay, the guy who's running the register is like really cool guy, long hair, earrings, kind smile. I go, "I'd like to pay for my glass of wine, but I also want one of those beers." And he spoke great English and he said, "Oh yes, of course. This is a beer from, I think it was from Turin, not too far from here, famously where I missed my train and had to get the taxi." And so I have this beer and I'm kind of standing there talking to this guy and he's like, "What's your story?" basically. And so his name is Daniele. I'm telling him I'm here to learn about wine and he just lights up and, "You're American and amazing." And he's writing down in my journal some wineries I should check out if I have time. And just like that, like things turned around. And so I had this great conversation. I have a beer now. And so I go back to my table and I check my email. And I got an email from this guy named Jeffrey, who I'm sure I'll talk about tomorrow. I'm meeting up with him. But basically, he's the my understanding is he's been in the region for 30 years and he works for a great winery, Marchesi di Greci, and he's just larger than life. And every person, like at the Enoteca, I'm telling him my schedule, I'm going to this winery and then I'm meeting up with this guy named Jeffrey in Barbaresco. And 3 times the owners were like, "Jeffrey, we love Jeffrey." So whoever this man is well known around these parts. And everyone is very excited about him. And so too am I. But I sit down and there's an email from him. And I had emailed him a few days prior when I got to Italy and just said, "Hey, if you have time, I would love to meet up with you." And he sends me this email. And it's basically like, "We're doing a cool tasting at a cool property on Sunday in Barbaresco. I'd love for you to come." And so I'm like riding high. If this Jeffrey guy says a cool tasting at a cool property, it's got to be the top of the top. So things are on an upswing. And so I finished my beer and I would have stayed at that table more, but I got there early and this plaza just started to fill in with people. Everyone has these cups. And everyone's drinking the beer, having fun. I'm just loving being around these people, and the kids are playing while the parents are talking, and just really, really lovely. But I felt like I had been there long enough that I wanted to give up my seat. So I finished my beer and then I started walking again, but I was getting a lot of journaling and planning done. So I wanted to keep doing that. So right behind where the wine bar was, there was a little park, and they had kind of set up these picnic tables at the park. And so I like, well, that picnic table is as good as any to journal at. So I sit down, and for about an hour, I'm just journaling my tales. And as I'm journaling, I'm like the first person in the park. And then it starts to fill in. And all of a sudden, I look up from my journaling, and this park, or piazza, is packed with people. And apparently, I come to find out that every Thursday in June, they pick a different square in the city, and they have like a block party. And so where I was at is like the board game area. So they set up these tables and they have stacks of board games. And so people meet up with their friends and they get a beer or a glass of wine and play board games. The other side, they had like rock band going, and kids were playing FIFA on TVs, and there's kids running around. There's a gelato stand, pop-up gelato stand behind me. So all of a sudden, like in an hour, it went from me being the only one to being packed with, a couple hundred people. And I'm like, this is so cool. I'm going to keep journaling. And right as I'm thinking that, a group of young Italians sit at my table, and they have a board game. The board game is called Telestrations. And this board game is near and dear to me and my family. We play it often. But basically, it's kind of like telephone, like the game where you start with a word and whisper it to someone else, but it's all drawing. So you get a word, and then you draw a picture of it, and then you pass your whiteboard, and then you pass your whiteboard, and the person next to you looks at your drawing and then flips up the page and writes what they think it is. Then on their word, they pass it to the next person. That person reads the word, flips the page, draws what the person before them had guessed. And so it's really fun because by the end, usually, you start with like surfboard, and by the end, the guess is like, clothes iron or something. And it's silly and fun and lighthearted. But it's a little bit confusing game to play. There's a lot of like formalities, start with the word and then flip it and then draw and then pass it. And so they're kind of these like 20-something Italians are kind of arguing against each other about the rules. And I put down my pen and I lean over and I say, "Do you guys speak English?" And they all said yes. And I said, "Well, this is one of my favorite games. Let me tell you the rules." So I explain the rules to them, and I get done. And one of the guys is like, "Well, why don't you play with us?" And I'm like, "Well, it's very generous of you, but I don't speak Italian. So I'm not going to know what my word is, what I'm supposed to draw. I'm not going to know what other people are guessing." And he said, "Just use Google Translate." And I was like, okay. So all of a sudden I'm in on this game. So I grab my phone, my Google Translate, and I got whatever my word was. And so I type it into Google Translate and it kicks out the English, and then I draw it. Oh, it was braces. And so I draw braces, and then I get past another drawing, and it's a drawing of acne on a face. And so I type in acne and brufolo, and then I write that and pass it. So it's just kind of silly, fun. And it was so cool to share that experience with these friends, for them to take me in that way. I was a little like, I don't know. And they were like, "No, we'll find a way to play." And just like hearing the laughter, getting to meet these people, it was just like such a spiritual experience. Definitely a big high. And so now it's nighttime, it's dark, and we played one round, and I kind of exchanged Instagrams with them, told them what I was doing there, and we talked about America a little bit, and they were going to go leave and watch a movie because they were screening a movie, and I didn't want to Google Translate a movie, and so I was going to just head back to my car and come back to my barrel here. And as I'm leaving, one of the girls is like, "Have you seen the Roman ruins?" And I'm like, "No." And so she's like, oh, just go over there. And so I'm like, what the heck? And so I just walk over, and of course, like sunken down, there's preserved Roman ruins. So I'm like standing over the edge, taking pictures, like so cool. Like this town is so special because for so many reasons, but one of them is like just the history. You just stumble upon ancient Roman ruins. I'll never get over that. But anyways, so that was my second day in Alba. It kind of had a rocky start with laundry chores, but then also not knowing what's going on or where laundry detergent is or how to use a laundry machine in Italy. But it ended on such a big high. New friends, new laughter. Laughter knows no language. It's the same in Italian as it is in English. And it was just really such a beautiful moment, of course, capped off by the Roman Empire. And yeah, that was day 2. So phenomenal day in Alba. Not the most like wine centric, I guess. I had wine along the way, and I guess I learned about wine through the owners of the enotecas, but definitely more culture and people focused day, which is a part of why I'm here, right? And so at the end of the day, I checked things off my to-do list that I didn't even know were on my to-do list, and I went to bed very happy.